Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Alrighty, so it is April, which means the first quarter of 2024 is behind us, and it is now time to do a wrap-up. I actually decided to move to quarterly wrap-ups instead of doing monthly ones, because there are times when I just really don't read that much in a month. Last September, I read like 2 books in a month, and at that point it was like, do I really need to make a wrap-up video? Like, this is so unserious. So I've decided to move to like quarterly wrap-ups, so I actually have like quite a few books to talk about. But anyway, we've got 3 months of books to get through in this video, so let's get started. And if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon so you know when I upload next, and yeah, thank you. Now let's get started. Alrighty, so starting off in January, I read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is a YA fantasy, and it is the first in the Stolen Heir duology. So, taking place like 7 or 8 years after the Cruel Prince series, it follows former Child Queen Surin and High Prince Oak as they team up and travel to one of the northern kingdoms to take down Ren's evil tyrannical mother and free Oak's warlord father held in her captivity. I gave The Stolen Heir a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Look, it is better than The Cruel Prince, I will say that. Unpopular opinion, The Cruel Prince is by far the worst book in that original trilogy, okay? So, The Stolen Heir is better than The Cruel Prince, but it is not really as good as the other 2 books in that series. Like, I liked it, and I liked following and fleshing out Ren and Oak, and, you know, now that they're a bit older and seeing what they're up to, and really, like, making them into actual characters this time around, instead of just kind of, like, background characters, kinda, like they were in the original trilogy. I did also like their gay friends that were with them, the 2 guards. I forget what their name is. I think it's like Hyacinth and Taryn, I think it is, that their names are. I did like them also, but not gonna lie, they were kind of annoying too. The plot itself, though, kind of felt shallow, but like, then again, it is mostly a road trip story, and like, road trip stories aren't really my thing. Sometimes they are, but most of the time they're really not. So I don't really know if that's like exactly a fair thing to say, to call it shallow, when like, I kind of always find road trip stories to be a little bit shallow. I don't know. Maybe it's unfair a bit, I don't know. The climax did feel messy. Like, it felt like when we got to the climax, like, I was missing pieces. Like, it almost felt like I was tuning out the audiobook, and so like I kept like rewinding a few times to be like, did I miss something? Oh no, I didn't miss anything. This is just what's going on. This is just what's happening. Okay. Like, I don't exactly know how to explain it other than that. The climax just felt like too much was happening all at once, and it felt like we were like skipping things. I don't know how to better explain it other than that. The shipping aspect between Ren and Oak was not really the most interesting, I will say that. Like, it's childhood friends to enemies to lovers, which seems fun, but in practice they didn't really have much chemistry, I thought. They really didn't. But then again, I really didn't like Jude and Carden together in their first book, so maybe it's just, once again, one of those scenarios where, like, it gets better as the series goes on. I don't know. Maybe come the next book I will really like them. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. Like, it was just okay. Like, it was. It was just an okay book. Next is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This YA fantasy is the 3rd and final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. The series overall is about this girl, Evangeline, who makes a deal with this magical immortal guy, Jax, to cure her broken heart. She then moves up north to start a new life and ends up getting a fairy tale dream life with magic and marrying a prince and all that, but things quickly turn sketchy when Jax comes back around to collect his debt owed, and now Evangeline must fight for her happily ever after. In this book specifically, Evangeline has had her memories wiped out and must figure out how to recover them and reclaim the love that she lost, or risk forever living a life she doesn't want. I gave this a 4 out of 5 at the time. I'm sticking to that, but I'm not going to promise that it's going to stay that way. I don't know. Maybe by the end of the year we might drop it down to like a 3.5 or 3 stars, but for right now, I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I feel the same way about A Curse for True Love as I did when I read the final book in the Caravel trilogy finale. In that, it's nice, I enjoyed my time, I had fun, but it could have been a lot better. It could have, yeah. This kind of read to me like a 2nd or 3rd draft. Like, all of the pieces were on the board and we knew like how we wanted to get from A to Z, but we just hadn't polished how exactly we got there. We didn't really polish how we got from point A to point B. A lot of people in particular said that the Apollo chapters were not necessary whatsoever. I personally disagree on that because his POV really does provide a lot of things to the plot that Evangeline just simply can never provide to the plot. Like, truly, I do think his POV does add a lot to it, but having said that, a lot of people do wish that, like, Jax had gotten more POV chapters, and I personally very much agree. Like, what do you mean the main love interest got 5 POV chapters, and the, like, pseudo-secondary love interest got, like, 12, or, like, however many he got? Like, what? That didn't make much sense to me. Jax should have gotten more POV chapters. I don't exactly know what he would have done, but I feel like he could have done more. You know, he could have. I do think this book should have been quite a bit longer, because the first half made sense and felt like we were taking things slowly, but then at about the 60% mark when Evangeline does get her memories back, spoiler alert, ooh, shocking, she gets her memories back in a book that's all about her getting her memories back, wow. The last 40% of this book just bullet trains towards the ending, and it's like, slow down, like let's pace this out a little bit, like we don't need to rush things here, and it felt like we were rushing the ending. Also, I said in my yearly wrap-up when I was talking about the Ballad of Never After that book, the second one in the series, got me on board with the toxic ass ship between Evangeline and Jax. Yeah, this one low-key made me jump off the ship again. Cause I'm sorry, he was just kinda unlikable in this one and felt like he just gave up. I don't know, it really just felt like Jax just gave up on Evangeline right from the very beginning and didn't want to put any effort into trying to get her back whatsoever. And it's just okay, this is the main love interest. He's not even willing to fight for the ship. Lovely, great. Okay, I guess we're doing that, okay. Yeah, he's always, lingering around the castle and is, still present in her life, but he's always oh, this is the last time I'm gonna see her, I'm pushing her away, just get her out of my life, blah, 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 blah. So it's okay, what the fuck? What the fuck? We were so head over heels in the last book. Why? Just why? I kinda get the reasoning because of the whole, oh, I'm so bad, I caused so many problems in her life whatsoever, so she's just better without me in her life, but it didn't come off that way. It felt just kind of like he gave up. Now, I did hear a rumor, this is just a rumor that I heard, that the publisher rushed this one to publication and didn't really give Stephanie the time she wanted/needed to properly edit this one. So if that is true, I fully blame the publisher for this one turning out to be a disappointment, because it's what the hell? What the hell? This is not some flash-in-the-pan author who just blew up on TikTok overnight, and now it's oh my god, oh my god, is the next book going to be successful? We don't know, this is a blah, 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 blah. No, this is an author who has been around for years at this point, almost a decade, and has proven time and time again that she can sell books. So it's just give her the time she needs to edit it. So, I don't know. If that rumor is true, I blame the publisher, but again, that's just a rumor that I heard. I don't know if that is true or not. But if that rumor is not true, and this genuinely just is what came out of proper editing, then I don't know. Maybe final books just aren't Mother's strong suit. I don't know. Stephanie is still a mother. I love her. I will pick up whatever she writes. But maybe final books just aren't her strength. I don't know. Moving right along into February, we have We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian. This is an annoyed co-workers to lovers gay romance with the historical backdrop of the American 1950s, and yes, it is an adult romance. I unfortunately DNF'd this, but I am hopeful to resume it someday. I really, really am. Okay, so yes, I DNF'd this one about 10 minutes into the audiobook, not because I wasn't enjoying it or because I hated it or anything. I just really wasn't in the mood for romance at that time. I thought when I picked this book up that I was in the mood for romance. I was oh, it's February, the month of love, Valentine's Day is around the corner, let's do some romance. Why not? I'm sure I'm in the mood for romance right now. Turns out I was not. I really was not in the mood for romance at that point, so I quickly realized that and just decided to DNF this one. So, yeah, it just happens. It just happens. I'm a mood reader. I am hopeful to pick this one back up, though, maybe around June, July, August, sometime in the summer, maybe. I don't know. I do think I could genuinely like this one, so I am hopeful to pick it back up later this year. Next is Empress of All Seasons. This YA fantasy centers on this competition where girls compete to conquer enchanted rooms themed around to the seasons, and the winner will get to marry the prince of the land. It follows this girl named Mari, who is secretly a yokai monster who enters the competition despite her kind being banned, and if found out, she'll be executed. Along the way, she meets Taro, the crown prince who doesn't want to inherit the throne, and Akari, a half-human, half-yokai outcast, and together the three of them will decide the future fate of their country. I also DNF'd this one, unfortunately. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know how it's to better say that. I just could not get into this book. I don't know what to tell you. It just wasn't working for me. Which is kind of disappointing because I have read Umiko Jin's Tokyo Ever After series, and I really loved that duology. So I was really hoping I've read Umiko Jin before, I've really liked her stuff before, so, I'm bound to like this one. Why not? Yeah, I didn't. It happens. I will say, though, I think I've had this saved on Goodreads since, 2018, 2019, something like that. So this is low-key telling me that maybe I've just outgrown and evolved past the books I saved from that era, and perhaps anything I've had, saved for, 5 years plus at this point, maybe I just need to take it off my TBR. Maybe if I had read this book back then when I first originally saved it, I would have been like, oh my god, wow, I really love it. But, I've grown up since then, so it's it happens. I don't know. Anyway, moving right along, we have Rivals by Katherine McGee. This is the third book in the young adult-ish / new adult-ish American Royal series. I say young adult and new adult because it's kinda a mix of both. The series overall imagines what the United States would look like if we had a monarchy instead of a presidency, and it follows the lives of Queen Beatrice, Princess Samantha, close family friend Nina Gonzalez, and the family friend / gold digger Daphne. I do not remember her last name. This one in particular has Beatrice hosting her first major international event as queen called the League of Kings event, where all of the world leaders come together to discuss global issues and party with each other. Samantha is dealing with romantic drama involving her boyfriend Marshall as they try to figure out how to have a long-term relationship, despite some legal things preventing them from doing so, and Nina and Daphne are going from arch-enemies to reluctant allies when a new socialite named Gabriella steps onto the scene and tries to ruin both of their lives, simply because she doesn't like them. Now, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah, give this one a 3 out of 5 stars, and spoiler alert, I gave the next book in the series a 3 out of 5 stars too. We'll talk about that one later. Parts of this book really bored and frustrated me. Parts of it were interesting, and the third act and ending, it was really good. Okay, I will say that. The third act, the ending, it was so good. It was juicy, it was filled with drama, it was melodramatic, it was explosive, it was so freaking good. I loved it. All of that to say, a 3 out of 5 stars is kind of balancing out my positive feelings and my negative feelings on this one, so yeah. Now, I will say this, between this one and the fourth book, I kind of want to make a dedicated video where I talk about this series and all the things I loved and hated about it, so I will save most of my thoughts for that video if I decide to make it, but for right now, let's just summarize what worked and what didn't for me. My main issue with Rivals is that most, not all, but most of the problems really could be solved if we didn't view marriage as this end-all be-all, the ultimate goal of a relationship. It's the ultimate defining factor of how you define love and all this kind of stuff. Okay, let me explain. Because Beatrice and Samantha are both having relationship problems with their boyfriends, Teddy and Marshall, And it boils down to that they can't legally get married to their guys because they're royals and Teddy and Marshall are dukes. So apparently this causes a conflict of interest thing. I don't know. I don't live in a real monarchy, okay? So in both cases, it's the ladies feeling guilty that their boyfriends will have to revoke their title in order to marry them, and it's just okay, this is so boring. Is it really that serious? Do we really need the legal slip of paper to say that we're in love? Do we really need to get married at that point? Because it's if it's causing all of these problems, maybe we don't need to get married. Maybe we can just be long-term committed partners to each other without the legal slip of documentation. I don't know. Crazy thought. Now, I will admit, maybe the reason that I am feeling that way in particular is because I am part of the Rainbow Mafia, and historically, and still today in many places around the world, queer people have not been able to legally get married, so they've just had to define love on their own terms and made commitments to their partners without the need for legal documentation. So maybe that's why I'm just this is so boring. This is just nonsense, really. Do we really need documentation? Do we really need marriage? Let's just be committed partners to each other and move on to more interesting conflict. Come on now. But my favorite thing in the book, besides the entire ending and all that was going on, I really did love seeing Nina and Daphne work together finally, and their whole plotline honestly really carried the book for me. So yeah, I really, really did love the Nina and Daphne plotline with them going and scheming against this other socialite girly who's being mean to them. Yeah, it was really fun. Next is One of Us is Back by Karen M. McManus. This is the third and final book in the One of Us is Lying trilogy. This YA mystery/thriller has all of the main characters from the previous two books come together as friends and try to solve a new mystery going around Bayview. Weird stuff around town starts happening, people are getting kidnapped, and it all seems to connect to old evils from the past. Now, I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Now look, half of the reviews on Goodreads are oh my god, this is so great, this is amazing, this is, the perfect way to end the series, this is the exact ending that we all needed and desired, oh my god, it's brilliant. And half of the reviews on Goodreads are this is so boring, nothing was happening, this is unnecessary, why does this even exist? And honestly, I understand both sides. I really, really do. I understand both sides. Because the book's main purpose is to just have everyone from the last two books come together and interact with each other as one big friend group. That's really the main purpose of this book. Forget the mystery, forget all of that. It's really just, kind of like AO3, where you have all your favorite characters just come together and be friends and party and all that shit, or whatever. That's kind of the main purpose of this book, honestly. So if that is what you want, you just love the characters, you want to spend more time with them and all this kind of stuff, you will love this book. But if you are someone who really needs an actual plot to sink your teeth into, this is going to be very boring for you. The mystery, yeah, it's not that good. It's really not that good. I'm sorry, the mystery is not that good. It never really gets going, even after everything is said and done. Only one member of the group of 9 really puts in any work into figuring out what's going on, and the antagonist really wasn't that interesting. The antagonist kind of came out of nowhere in a sense that they weren't really linked to anything that happened in the series prior, and their family history just kind of felt shoehorned in so we had a reason to kill one of the past villains of the series without turning one of the main characters into a murderer. Truly. Having said all of that, I still really enjoyed hanging out with the characters once again, especially the characters from the first book. I did not like the second book. If you've been here for a while, you know I didn't like the second book. But the first book, I still love it, okay? But yeah, even still, I really liked hanging out with all the characters, and the 3 who were chosen to be the POV characters did have their arcs pushed in great ways that gave their stories really satisfying endings and honestly hope for the future. The other characters did feel stagnant, but oh well. They already got good growth in their previous books, so yeah. Is it the best thing in the world in terms of plot? No. But it does have really good character work, and I liked it, so I'm happy with this one. Next is Rebel by Marie Lu. Set 10 years after the Legend trilogy, this young/new adult dystopia focuses on Day, now going by his real name Daniel, and his younger brother Eden, now living in Antarctica together and dealing with the country's less than perfect social hierarchy, as well as their own now rocky relationship. The country has what's known as a level system, where people of power and privilege have higher levels and are afforded more basic rights and luxury, while people with lower levels are forced to live in poverty and are stripped of pretty much all human rights. When Eden gets involved with a crime lord from the Undercity, he is pressured into building a device that will wipe out the level system and cause Antarctican society to collapse, while Daniel, working as a government spy, attempts to not only stop the crime lord and save his brother, but also works to rebuild the bond between him and his brother, as well as reconnect with a certain old love. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This one made me emotional, which normally always automatically gets a 5 out of 5 for me, but I have to drop a star because the political aspect annoyed me too much. Okay, this is gonna be a long one, folks, so buckle in. Alrighty, this book is good. I did really enjoy it, especially its more tender moments. The tender moments between Eden and Daniel and Daniel and June. I loved it. Just all the sibling bonding stuff and all of the boyfriend-girlfriend stuff. Oh, it was so cute. I loved it. And I think this book serves nicely as an epilogue to the Legend series. I like the whole thing about Daniel and Eden drifting apart as the years went by, to the point that they don't really even know the other brother anymore. And now they're working towards mending their relationship and finally seeing each other for who they are and understanding them. I really thought that whole arc was done well. And especially that scene where they're back in the Republic and they go to visit the slums where they grew up and just have a complete heart-to-heart about the loss of their family, the war from the original series, and how all of the trauma from those two things still affects them to this day and has played a role in their sibling dynamic. That scene. It was so good. It made me teary-eyed. It really, really did. It was just so sweet. The other thing that I really loved was Daniel and June reconnecting after all these years and finally being able to give their feelings for each other a true shot. No opposing enemies stuff, no there's a war going on, none of this stuff. It's just, hey, we're two adults, we have fully grown brains now, we can come together and give this thing a real shot. And just how even after 10 years of not seeing each other, they still feel so comfortable and trusting of each other, and can pretty easily fall right back into being friends and then something more. And the proposal at the end also really made me teary-eyed, because it was so beautifully said, but also it was just finally. The day has come. We have been waiting for them to get engaged, married, something, and it finally happened. At the tail end, it finally happened. Yay. Those two aspects I really, really loved about this book, and I think a lot of people did also, because that's kind of the general theme I saw on Goodreads, was a lot of people really, really loving those two things. But yeah, I really love those two aspects. Now, there were two things that didn't quite work for me, though, with this book, so let's talk about them. One, this is a very minor thing, we'll get into my bigger issue later, but first off, the school bullying thing, it didn't work for me. Okay, so at the start and in the middle of the book, we get some scenes with Eden at his college, and he's getting bullied by these other classmates for being a nerd. The point of these scenes is to show how the technology used for the level system in Antarctica can be tricked into thinking you're not being hateful to someone if you word your demeaning comments in the right way. And that if you provoke someone and they, start defending themselves in an aggressive manner, that the level system will actually, penalize the victim and not you. That's the whole point of these school bully scenes. So I get that. They do serve a purpose, they do, kind of. But they don't really work for me, because, okay, I get it's a YA book, so it's ooh, the bully's picking on the nerdy kid, you kind of do expect that sort of thing from, YA, high school, sort of thing. But, yeah, high school. not college, not with everyone being 20 plus years old, not when everyone is an adult. It just didn't work for me because it was too Disney Channel-y. It was just too Disney Channel-y for my taste. It was like, really? Like, really? We're doing the whole bullying the nerd thing in college? Do we not have better things to do? Can we not get this point across better? Can we not have him, like, get into fights with coworkers at, like, an internship or something? I don't know. It was just like, let's mature it a little bit, you know? Like, let's mature it just a little bit. Just simply because of the characters' ages, but also, even though this is YA, I do think the target audience for this is, like, 18 to 20-somethings who, like, grew up with the original series and are now, you know, older and stuff like that. So I do think that's the target audience, which also makes these scenes weird for how juvenile they were. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my opinion. But that's a really small thing. Now let's get into the bigger thing that made me drop a star from this book, and that is the political aspect of this book, especially the villain and how this book ended. So we're shown all throughout this book how the level system of Antarctica is corrupt and ultimately helps the rich and privileged stay in power while the poor stay oppressed forever. And all of the main characters acknowledge that this level system is bullshit and actively harms society. Okay, like, if you've seen Arcane, you know, the League of Legends show, low-key, just imagine it's like Piltover and Zon, you know, like kind of imagine that type of society. That's kind of what Antarctica is. And then enter this mafia crime boss guy, I forget his name, I'm sorry, who wants to take down the level system and gets Eden's technological brilliance to do so. He does manage to get the level system taken down and chaos does ensue, but even though we've established how harmful and vile the level system is, the story also treats removing the level system as like the absolute worst thing possible that would totally ruin society. Now, like I said, yes, the level system does get taken down and there is initial chaos with people looting and trampling others and being able to like stand up against the police for once and all this kind of stuff. There is all kinds of like, you know, chaos in the streets of the Undercity. It's madness. Truly, it is. I will give it that. But I do think if we like flash forwarded, is that a word? It is now. If we like flash forwarded to like a few weeks or a few months even, instead of just like 3 days later, we would have seen most of the chaos die down probably, and society actually being better, at least for the Undercity, without the level system in the long run. But no. Instead, we reinstate the level system to pretty much how it was before, just with like some minor tweaks, like, you know, poor people now being allowed to protest. And if you remember, the BLM protests from 2020 were the ongoing protest for a certain liberation of a certain country that I can't say the name of, because I'm pretty sure the last time I did, YouTube suppressed my video and my channel until I took it down. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like, generally, if you remember protesting movements from the last couple years, then you remember all too well how governments and police treat protesters. Okay, so I'm sorry, but like having the poor people now being able to protest in the streets, that's not exactly like, oh my god, we're liberated, we're saved, okay, society's gonna be great now. It's like, okay, the government is most likely going to be like, oh, look at them, they're protesting. Send the police after them, shoot them down, arrest people, whatever. Let's be serious now, okay? It drives me crazy that is how the story went. We know the level system is evil, but then we villainize the guy who tries to take it down, and then after he does, we defeat him, and then we reinstate the level system to exactly how it was before, even though we fully well know that it's toxic and evil. What? Okay, and we're all just supposed to be like, society's saved. Society's saved. The day is saved. No. And I'm sorry, but that whole thing about the mafia guy at the end being like, I actually want power over the level system. That's been my goal this whole time. Mwahahaha. It felt so half-baked and like a desperate attempt to make the reader side against him, since they've most likely been agreeing with him so far, about like, hey, the level system's evil. The people in power use it to oppress poorer people. Let's take it down, bestie. And again, when the level system gets reinstated at the end, the government is fully like, yeah, no, bitch. We're not making any moves to change things because we benefit from this fucked up social hierarchy. So, get the fuck over it. And Eden and Daniel are like, well, we did what we could. We brought it to their attention how harmful the level system is. Change is slow. We gotta wait and see what happens. Maybe in a few decades, things will be better. They're letting the poor get medicine. They're not banning people from getting medicine now. So, progress, change is slow. Really? That's the lesson we're supposed to get here? When we literally could have just done away with the entire level system that harms people in the first place? Really? Okay. I'm sorry. You can't just be like, oh yeah, the government is letting sick people get medicine now. They're not criminalizing people for getting medicine now, and expect me to be like, oh my god, change. The world is much better now. Society is so much better now. Oh my god, this is brilliant. Change is slow, but we made some real progress today. We did. We're true patriots now too. Oh my god. Wow, groundbreaking, bestie. So brilliant. No! It was so disappointing because it felt like, we were so close to hitting the mark. And then we just didn't for some reason. I truly felt like Marie Lu could have done better. So I'm just really disappointed that she didn't do better. Alright, let me compare it to something. Something similar. Not exact, but something similar. Okay, so y'all remember how in Harry Potter, we are constantly shown how the Ministry of Magic is evil and discriminatory to non-wizard species, but it's not a problem and there's no reason to fight for change until Voldy comes to power and then the system starts harming wizards and then it's oh my god, we gotta do something. But by the end, we just put in a new prime minister or something while the rest of the ministry's system remains unchanged and harmful to the people it was harming before. But even now, we're supposed to be oh my god, the day is saved. That's kind of the vibe that this ending gave. So it's really? We can do better. We can do better. Having said all of that, having gone on that long rant though, I did still enjoy Rebel overall and adore the character relationship arcs in it. And yeah, I actually do want to read more of Marie Lu's work, so you'll probably still see some of her other series pop up in wrap-ups at some point in the future. I don't know if it'll be this year, next year, I don't know. But I do still want to read more Marie Lu books, so you'll see her pop up again soon. Alrighty, and moving right along into March, we have A Sky Beyond the Storm by Saba Tahir. I believe in the past that I pronounced her name incorrectly, and for that I do apologize. But I do believe her correct pronunciation of her last name is Tahir. So, A Sky Beyond the Storm by Saba Tahir. This is the fourth and final book in the YA Fantasy and Ember in the Ashes series. Well, demons are roaming the earth, and there is civil war within the Empire, and the dead are not able to pass into the afterlife. And if our trio, Alice, Leia, Helene, does not defeat the Nightbringer in a timely manner, the world is even more doomed than we already know. Now, I gave this one a 5 out of 5, and it is, once again, a favorite of the year. If you have been here since the start, when I first started reading these books, you will know that every single one of these books has gotten a 5 out of 5 and has been marked as a favorite of the year. This one is no different. I fucking love this series. And I'm so excited to read the Heir spin-off duology that is coming later this year. I am so excited for it. Saba Tahir, you have been promoted. You are now one of my elite employees. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Mother, aka my author auto-buy list. Now, while this has been out for 4 years, I don't really want to spoil the entire series in case anyone watching this wants to read it, and honestly, that's like a testament to how much I love and respect and adore this series and want other people to pick it up, because y'all know that I spoil shit on the regular. Like, the next book that we're going to be talking about, I fully spoil it. But this one, this entire series, I don't want to fully spoil it. I want y'all to go pick it up and read it yourselves, because it's just so fucking good. But let me just say this. Ellis, Leia, and Helene are my loves, okay? Through and through, forever. And all 3 of their arcs were enjoyable to follow, especially Helene's, I will say that. I liked how everything came together in the end and got resolved. The losses hit hard in this book, okay? Especially the 2 towards the end. Like, the girlies need therapy. I need therapy. We all need fucking therapy after those 2 losses at the end. Especially Helene. Like, she especially needs therapy, because Miss Tahir, she was suffering this entire book. What the hell? It was fuck Helene this entire book. Like, shit, it was just trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma for Blondie in this book. Like, jeez. Now, I will say that there were 2 small things that didn't really gel the best with me. One, a character perceived to be dead at the end of the last book suddenly comes back at the end of this one. It did feel clunky, of course, though I am willing to kind of forgive this, because I appreciate the purpose it served in getting one of our leads their happy ending. And the reason why it was not foreshadowed at all was justified within the boundaries of the lore, which is not something everyone even tries to do. So, okay, I can forgive, the fake out death at the end. I can forgive it, sorta, kinda. And 2, I didn't exactly like how the Nightbringer was viewed as redeemable, but the Commandment was not. Now, don't get me wrong, the bitch of Blackcliff is evil, and she got what she deserved. But they're both equally horrible in my opinion. They really, really are. Like, I'm sorry, I'm disagreeing with the book on this one. The Nightbringer is not any more valiant, honorable, justified, whatever you want to call it. He's not... No, he's just as evil, he's just as vile, especially for keeping, his ultimate grand plans hidden from his people. The people who he was supposedly doing all this evil shit in the series for, fighting for and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, no. I didn't like how the Nightbringer was kind of viewed as like, just kind of misunderstood, redeemable, all this kind of stuff. Like, no, he's a piece of shit too. He deserved, to be viewed that way too, honestly. But, oh well, 2 kind of small things, and those 2 things did not dim my enjoyment and love for this series whatsoever. And yes, this is one of my favorite series of all time. The Ember in the Ashes series is 100% a favorite series for me. It is one of my favorite series of all time. You have joined the ranks of Carvel, you have joined the ranks of The Hunger Games. Welcome to the club, bestie. And I just find the Ember in the Ashes series overall to be so masterfully crafted in every way, from the writing, to the characters, to the arcs, to the plot, to the world building, to the lore. Just everything is so well done in this series. I mention that every single time this series gets brought up on my channel, and I will keep repeating it because it's true. And even though this series is a big hit, I still think it's highly underrated. I really, really do. This needs to be on the big screen. Actually, I take that back. Hollywood could never do the series justice, no matter what. But just like, it needs to be bigger on Book Talk at least. It needs to be bigger on Book Talk at least. The attention that y'all give A Court of Thorns and Roses, y'all need to give to An Ember in the Ashes. Period. End of discussion. Stop with the fairy dick stuff. Go read this shit. Go read this. And like I said, again, I will be reading the spin-off series that got announced with the first book, Heir, releasing later this year. I think it's come out in like October, I think. I do also want to read Sabaa Tahir's contemporary All My Rage at some point, so that might pop up at some point. So, yeah. But anyway, moving right along to A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This adult thriller is about this woman and her fucked up family. 20 years ago, this woman's father went on a killing spree, murdering half a dozen girls in the span of a few months. The timeline's kinda wonky in my opinion, but oh well, before getting caught and being sentenced to life in prison. Now, in the present day, girls are starting to go missing again in a suspiciously similar way to what happened before, leading our main character to investigate what's going on herself and question whether the real killer from so long ago was ever really caught. I DNF'd this shit. Okay, I did. This is not, you know, a cutesy, oh, maybe I'll come back to it, DNF, or, oh, it just didn't work out for me, DNF. No! I fucking hated this shit. Okay? Now, part of that is because I'm not the right audience for this, and we will get to that in a second. And like I said, I am going to fully spoil this book, so if you don't want to see that, skip ahead, because I'm fully spoiling this shit for y'all. I read this for 2 days, got 100 pages in, and couldn't take it anymore. Domestic thrillers are just not for me. At all. Period. End of discussion. Most, if not all, of the ones that I have read, I just really didn't like. Because I'm sorry, suburban white picket fence people just bore and annoy me. They really, really do. Having said that, I was initially willing to just tough it out and finish this because it's not that long. And I was also doing a show at that point. So, you know, it was passing the time between scenes when I'm not on stage. But the writing just got under my nerves very quickly. Because we start out strong. We really, really do. The main character is a psychologist that isn't really good at her job, if we're being honest, and she uses the privileges of her work in order to get pills for herself under her clients' names. And she has like deep-rooted family trauma, there's tension between her and her brother and her fiance. Like, there was so much interesting stuff in the first like 2 or 3 chapters I was kind of living for. Like, oh, drama. Like, it was kind of interesting, it was kind of juicy. And then the book kept going. And I was like, oh. Cause no. Okay, no. But then I was like 50 pages in, and the inciting incident of a girl going missing in present day still hadn't happened yet. And I was like, what are we waiting on? What are we waiting on? And then when it did happen, we still refused to move forward and instead started jumping back in time and dedicated lots of time to talk about this other girl who got killed 20 years ago. And when we started dedicating so much time to this one girl that got killed 20 years ago, I was just like, okay, I don't care. A, there were 6 girls that got killed 20 years ago. Why are we so hung up about this one? Why? B, I don't care if she was your bisexual awakening or something. Like, I really don't give a shit. She's been dead for 20 years. Let it go. 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 See, the description of this book made it seem like the present day kidnappings and murders were gonna be the focus. And like, now I'm mad that we're spending so much time in the past. Like, okay, we get it. Somebody in your family killed girls 20 years ago. People are dying now. Let's focus on that. You can't save the people from the past. You can't. Stop trying to save the people from the past. Stop it. Focus on the people now. You want to play, like, you know, rookie detective or whatever. So play rookie detective in the present day. Hello? Be useful. Whatever your name is. I forget her name. I do not remember the main character's name. So then I decided to DNF this book because I was just getting more and more fed up with it. And because I DNF'd it, I flipped to like the last few chapters to find out what the hell happens in the end. And I was just like, what the fuck did I just read? So I was just like, what the fuck did I just read? What do you mean present day killings were committed by a copycat and don't even really matter to the actual drama going on? What? They really don't matter in the end. They really, really don't. So it's like, what's the point? Okay. Also, what do you mean everyone in this woman's life knew who the real killer of the original murders were, and no one in her entire fucking family, no one thought to tell her at any time in the past 20 years. 20 years. Nobody thought in the past 20 years to go up to her and be like, hey, you're actually really close to the real killer. Yeah, the person that you're really close with and you have a good relationship with, they're the killer. So just wanted to let you know, yeah, we were all kind of protecting them. So, yeah. But, like, I don't think you know. So it's like, ooh. Like, what do you mean nobody told her who the real killer was, knowing full well she had a good and close relationship to this person, and she didn't know that they were a serial killer? What? What? Are you insane? Are you genuinely insane? You have lost it. And what do you mean that her fiancé only started dating her to investigate her family, and when this is found out, the book treats it as like, well, that's disappointing. I guess we can't get married now. Oh, well, you win some, you lose some. There's always other fish in the sea. Oh, well. Because, like, I'm sorry if my man came up to me and was like, hey, you got a really fucked up family who's, like, you know, has a really dark past, and I'm only really dating you to get insider information about all that. It's because, like, I kind of want clout. I kind of want to do my own investigation. Sorry, I'd be like, what the flying fuck just happened? My life would shatter again. My life would be upended again. Oh my god. What are you talking about? Oh my god, what the actual hell? Listen, like I said, I'm not the target audience for this, okay? I'm not the target audience for domestic thrillers in general, period. I'm very much learning that. Truly, I am. I understand that. So if I spot a domestic thriller and add it to my TBR in the future, can y'all just remind me to, like, not do that? Can y'all just remind me that I hate domestic thrillers and, like, don't give it a chance? Like, I'm sorry, but, like, do that for me, please. Like, it happened with Wrong Place, Wrong Time. It happened with Local Woman Missing. And now it's happening with this, too. So, like, domestic thrillers are just not for me. I'm not the target audience for them. It's just not for me. Okay. So, like, no. We are not doing any more domestic thrillers on this channel. Period. End of discussion. Okay, I got a Band-Aid. I cleaned it. I'm sorry if, you know, it was noticeable in the last clip. I apologize, but I bandaged it. It's okay. We're good now. Next, we have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This YA contemporary fantasy is about black girl magic in a King Arthur Illuminati. Main character Bree Matthews tragically lost her mother a few months ago and is still dealing with that grief as she heads off to college in an advanced placement program. On her first night on campus, she discovers that she can see magic and demons, and stumbles upon this order of Merlins and knights that hunt down and slay demons before they can fully enter our world. Upon learning that someone within this mysterious order may have played a role in her mother's death, Bree seeks the help of this boy named Nick so that she can join the order and get the answer she seeks. And along the way, she'll discover that she has more magic and power within her than she could ever imagine. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, and it is a favorite of 2024 so far. Okay, I loved this. At least most of it. Okay, I love Bree. I love following her around. I love her arc of discovering herself and learning about her abilities and processing her grief and connecting to her family and culture on a deeper level through root work and all this kind of stuff. The climax is so freaking cool. And the setup for the next book is so good. It's so interesting. And the love triangle towards the end and going into the next book, actually, it feels like a love triangle. Like a legitimate love triangle. You know, most of the time you can tell which boy the main girl is gonna pick by the end, and the other one is just kind of there to add some drama. But no, in this instance, I really don't know who the fuck she's gonna pick. I don't know if she's gonna pick Nick. I don't know if she's gonna pick, what's his face? Whatever the fuck his name is. I forget his name. Cell. That's his name. Cell. I don't know. I don't know if Bree's gonna pick Nick or if she's gonna pick Cell. I don't know. But I'm kind of here for the drama because, ooh, kind of interesting. Okay. I freaking love this book, and I will be reading Bloodmarked at some point later this year. Like, at some point, I don't know. I don't exactly know when I plan on reading that, because the audiobook is long, so it's gonna take at least 2 months. This one took 2 months. Truly, like, I started this back in February, and I finished it in March, so it's like, yeah. But like, yeah, I'm hooked. I am here for it. I am reading this shit. I did take a star away from this just because of a few things. The order's hierarchy with like who is on top of who, like, you know, the knights and the squires and the pages and all that, it was difficult to follow. Like just the lore of all that was difficult to understand and keep up with. But perhaps that's probably just because I'm not really into medieval stuff, so I don't really know much about all of that stuff and how that works. Like, I don't really know, like, you know, the King Arthur stuff. So I didn't really to take a star away just because of that. It was just something that, you know, I noticed. But a lot of the Order kids, besides Nick, Sel, and Will, felt very much the same. Like, I could not differentiate between any of, like, the Order kids, aside from, like, I think Tor was, like, a very tall girl. I don't really know her personality much at all, aside from name, because she was mentioned a lot. And then there was this other girl that the narrator put on a British accent for. Like, I don't even know her name. But, like, yeah, I really could not differentiate the Order kids from each other. A lot of them were just, like, the same, honestly. They really were. And because I really couldn't tell anyone apart, when the Order kids started dropping like flies in the big battle, it didn't really hit as hard as it should have. Like, the author probably wanted the deaths to like hit pretty hard, because like there's several people dying, like, you know, there's several kids dying, like, oh shit. I was just kind of like, oh, that's sad. Okay, moving right along. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I was I was not really attached to anyone that was dying. Like, I'm sorry, because I didn't really know who was who. And also, the lead up into the final battle was kinda hard to follow too. Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention. Maybe it is just me again, but I thought I was paying attention pretty well. But like, I don't know. Cause like, it felt like, you know, one moment we're being threatened by Nick's white supremacist dad, and then the next we're fighting demons in a cave and shapeshifter and all that stuff, and suddenly someone's dead and has been taken over by a shapeshifter or whatever. And then we're fighting even more demons in a cave, and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, how did we get here? Okay, so yeah, like, just the follow-up into the climax, it was kind of confusing for me. It was kind of hard to follow, but like, yeah. So those two things are ultimately why I took a star away. Just, you know, just that. And also I will say I'm sorry, but I cannot stand Sel. I can't stand Selwyn. He's a bitch. He's a bitch. When Bree called Sel a monster for being a half-demon hybrid baby, and he started whining about, like, you called me a monster once. You called me a monster once too. I just wanted to leap into the book and strangle him, because that motherfucker, you have been calling her a demon, a monster, a spy, a freak, pathetic, and a silly little girl non-stop for the past like 2 to 3 weeks with no evidence to back up your ridiculous claims. But the one time she factually calls you a monster, oh, we gotta have an emotional breakdown now? Grow up. Selwyn, grow up. Selwyn was so fucking annoying to me. I'm sorry. He was. Anyway, let's move on to Counterfeit by Christian Chen. This women's fiction book is about these two women who run a counterfeit luxury bag scheme. They've been caught recently, and the main lady, Ava, is telling her story to the police and how, you know, she got involved in all this stuff, while the other lady, Winnie, is the main chick running the scheme behind the scenes. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I had an enjoyable time with this, but it definitely got worse the more it went on, and it's really not that long to begin with. I really love the narrative voice in Ava's POV chapters when she's talking to the detective, you know, making the whole thing sound like a conversation. I did call the midpoint twist within like the first 3 chapters, and I'm pretty sure like 90% of people can, but that didn't really impact my enjoyment of the story. It's fun, it's quick, I was invested in the characters and where the story would go. I had a nice time with it. I did. I really had a nice time with this. I will say, though, that this book should have been longer. It really, really should have. And it's very much a tell, not show type of book. Yeah, especially with stuff you would expect to be important to the plot. This book should have been longer because it's only like 18 or so chapters, and we spend like 7 or 8 of them setting the scene with Ava's life and slowly going day to day till she gets fully involved in the scheme. And then after that, it's full on ahead, full track race to the end. We gotta race to the ending. I understand why the choice was made for the chapters where Ava is speaking to the detective to be like slow and not really focusing on the scheme part of it and just, more so focusing on, her life and all that kind of stuff. Like, I fully get why that choice was made, and I agree with that choice. Cause, like I said, they are written as her having a conversation with the detective who is investigating them, so you're getting her story told exactly how she's framing it to the police. And obviously, she's going to spend more time framing herself as the sympathetic, lonely mom with a husband that abandons her and a demon child with developmental issues. Book's words, not mine. Who was a hopeless victim that got roped into this thing with no way out, just kind of glossing over her actual level of involvement in the scheme as much as possible to, not incriminate herself any more than she already is. But there are a few chapters that we get from Winnie's POV, and they are told from, a third-person perspective, where she isn't trying to frame herself any type of way, and even still, by that point in the book, we're still rushing through things about how the scheme started, how it got built up, how it got successful, how it came crashing down, the stuff the book is about. This book is about this counterfeit handbag scheme, and we're just glossing over and rushing through all the counterfeit handbooks and stuff. It's like, okay, so did we want to write a book about counterfeit handbag scheme? Or did we not? Because it doesn't seem like we wanted to, because we're just glossing through all that stuff. And it gets more and more tell, don't show as the book goes on, but only about, important stuff. When it comes to how the scheme operated, the author will be like, we hired shoppers, we had a warehouse of bags, we quickly gained a loyal following on our eBay store, and that's kinda all you get. But when it comes to things that are, not as important, baby, you're getting all the details then. Especially with Ava's Hellfire kid and trying to enroll him into preschool, the author will go detail by detail. We woke up early, and the nanny had to walk to the school with us, and he was so terrified the whole way, and there was the other parent with such a well-behaved child, and the teacher seemed to love them, and the parents, we all sat in and watched the kids, and there was this, this one rowdy toddler who started messing with my son, and he ended up having a fit, so I had to walk out with him to calm him down, and by that point the teacher said, now's not a good time to enroll him, and I begged, and I pleaded, and then he threw another fit, and we were told to leave once again, and then I broke down in the car to the nanny, and it's just detail by detail, detail by detail, detail by detail, and it's this is not what the book's supposed to be about. This is not what the book's supposed to be about. Why are we spending so much time on this Hellfire child when the book is supposed to be about this counterfeit handbag scheme? No offense, but still. And again, I know Ava's POV chapters focus more on her tragic home life and glosses over the scheme. Intentionally, I get that, I respect it, and I enjoyed that. But again, this should have been longer, so we have time to flesh everything out, and when we're in Winnie's head, her chapters shouldn't have glossed over how the scheme was run, and instead taken us through detail by detail about the true story of how things got started, how things were built up, how things were operated, the shady higher-up business people, and how things ultimately came crashing down. Instead of rushing through everything the same way that Ava's POV did. Why did Winnie's POV rush through things? Why? I don't understand. But overall, it was a decently enjoyable read. It really, really was. And it was quick and easy to get through. Also, the cover is pretty. Do we see the cover on the screen right now? The cover is so pretty. I love all the shades of blue. Whoever designed the cover ate. Whoever designed the cover needed a huge bonus because it is such a pretty cover, okay? It really, really is. And the final book for this wrap-up video is Reign by Catherine McGee. This is the fourth and final book in the young/new adult contemporary fantasy romance American Royal series. With Queen Beatrice now in a coma, Princess Samantha having run off to Hawaii with her boyfriend, close family friend Nina getting involved with yet another prince, and gold digger Daphne being closer than ever to securing a life of luxury, especially now that Prince Jefferson is the current acting king in Beatrice's place. Power, money, and love are all at stake as deception, lies, and trickery are all more present than ever, with all the drama of America's royal family coming to a head in this final entry in the series. And I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. We have come to the end of the series. Honestly, I'm kinda glad the journey is over. It's bittersweet, like I'm glad it's over, but I'm also gonna miss the girls. I really, really am. I'm gonna miss these ladies. I really am. I'm gonna miss following their adventures. But also I'm kinda like, oh, finally. We're done. Like I said, I kind of want to save my full thoughts for a dedicated video about this series, but overall, I was pretty disappointed throughout most of this book because there was so much reversing of character progression and also just rehashing of previous plots from the other books. For all of the girls, really, not just one or two, but for all of them. But anyway, everyone got the ending that they deserved. Some people on Goodreads disagree with that statement, but oh well. I can see why, but like, oh well. I personally think everyone got what they deserved. So for that reason, I did bump this up a star to 3.5 because, you know, it does have a satisfying ending. It really, really does. And that's it from me. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know when I upload next, and comment down below your thoughts on any of these books if you have read them, or comment your thoughts on any books that you have read in the first quarter of 2024. Any books you liked, any books you hated, tell me, let me know, I'm genuinely curious. But that's all. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.